I want to say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? All right. Thank you. And we thank you for the co-creation of this interaction once again. We will begin this transmission, Earth Zero, in the following way. We have discussed with you from time to time the idea that every moment you are a new person, that you are shifting through billions of parallel reality versions of Earth every second. The idea sometimes, as we discuss this concept with some of you, may seem that while the person understands to a certain degree that they are shifting, they may not realize the idea that the Earth and the universe and the multiverse and all of creation is shifting as well. So in this transmission, we wish to expand and broaden your understanding that the shifts we are talking about that are automatic and ongoing, that you're becoming more and more aware of that you're doing, extend throughout existence. It's not just you as an individual shifting on the same planet, but the planet is shifting too, because it is one of the parallel versions you've shifted to. So it is shifting. Your universe is shifting. The multiverse is shifting. How can you take advantage of this knowledge in your daily lives? First and foremost, again, we remind you, you don't have to learn to shift. Shifting is automatic. That's how you create the side effect called time and space and change. If you were not shifting, you would not have those experiences. So it's not about learning to shift. It's about becoming more aware of the fact that you're always shifting and starting to match the frequency a little more closely of the shift. The paradox to that is that as you start raising your frequency and becoming more aware of how fast you're already shifting, reality may seem, in a sense, to start slowing down and at the same time accelerate. The idea of the slowing down is that by matching the frequency, you get to see the frames more clearly. They don't just whiz by, they become more apparent to you consciously. And yet, as they become more apparent to you, they're becoming more apparent in the present. So the idea of seeing more of the frames more consciously that you're shifting through actually allows you to live more in the moment, and living more in the moment while seeming to slow things down actually speeds things up, because everything happens in the now and everything is already existing in the now. So the paradox of your senses will be that things will sort of seem to freeze now and then. Space and time will become more malleable, more flexible. At the same time, you will experience what feels like an acceleration, because you're becoming more aware of more of what is in the present, more of what is in each of those frames that you are now more conscious of. So you have this double effect. As you become more conscious of these frames, by raising your frequency, by following your passion, of course, following that formula, you can utilize this understanding of going to zero, going to zero, going to zero with each shift in a much more constructive, powerful, conscious way. Because that is exactly what you are doing. That is exactly what the entire planet, in a sense, is doing as it manifests with you in the new reality, billions of times per second, as the new reality, billions of times per second, since they all already exist. So the idea of Earth Zero is to become more aware of that zero space. The idea that it is truly blank in the shift, and that you get to define in that moment more clearly who it is you prefer to be, what kind of version of Earth is more reflective of that, and of course the universe as well. But let's keep it focused on your planet for the moment so it doesn't get a little bit too heady. So the idea, again, is now that you know more and more that you are shifting billions of times a second, broaden your perspective that when you do, start seeing in your imagination, start seeing more consciously that the earth is shifting too. So that in that sense, not that it comes with you, but that it goes back to zero and is defined, is invented with you. Not just you reinvented, but the earth you are on reinvented. That you are connected to it, you're an extension of it, because you are nature, you are of the earth, it is of you, you are creating your version of it. And so if you start to see that the entire globe is new, zeroing out with every shift, billions of times per second, you will actually start to accelerate the effects you see of things appearing to change in the world, because you are more rapidly and more consciously taking the earth with you, so to speak, as you know you are shifting, and you are seeing the new shifted earth more clearly because you are allowing yourself to include the idea that the earth is shifting and going to zero as well as you. And this can accelerate your experience of actually more consciously seeing those reflections, what you call changes in your reality. Now, this is a version of accessing parallel realities. Again, since everything exists at once, they're all parallel realities. What you call the past is a parallel reality. What you call the future is a parallel reality. Again, it all exists now. But you have these convenient labels for them, these convenient perspectives of them, because you're coming from a space-time framework. However, as you understand this zeroing out principle more consciously, you're going to start experiencing with your senses more of the overlap, more of the idea of a kind of double and triple exposure of the different earths you're shifting through. So the idea is that you may start seeing kind of a residual echo of the one you were at, a residual echo of the one you're going to. You will broaden the idea of the window of the shifting so that you can actually start to really feel stepping across a bridge, including where you were, where you are, where you're going. It will broaden your understanding and your ability to perceive multiple parallel versions of Earth at once so that you can more consciously navigate. Because if you can see what's coming up and you understand where you've been, it charts a clearer course in your consciousness. You can actually start to see the course you're taking. You can see more of the map that you are using to guide yourself, to navigate yourself through these billions of parallel realities. And you can broaden it even more and more and more and more until you will allow yourself to be able to conceive of and perceive multiple versions of all of the Earths, and it starts becoming kind of like seeing more of the frames all at once, and you have a bigger understanding, a bigger chunk of understanding of the path that you are, the path that you're manifesting. Now, in a sense, this means that when you start doing this, it's a new way of understanding and experiencing more consistently the concept and the experience that you call déjà vu. Because the idea in what you call déjà vu is that you have a sense of knowing what's coming up because you feel you've been there before. So in a sense, you're using the forward and reverse arrows of time simultaneously as they exist in the present together. So this concept of Earth Zero is a way of expanding the idea of déjà vu into something that is actually a practical device, a practical tool to broaden your understanding of seeing more of the path that you are and navigating it more consciously by being able to see ahead, in a sense, where you are going because you've already been there. Because you are already connected. There are already versions of you on all of the different parallel versions that are relevant for you. So it's like tapping into a future self that already has a past memory of already having been where it is you're still going. You understand? This is a shift, a big shift, because in the past, so to speak, Most of you will rely on learning what you need to move forward from what you've already experienced. You will look back to the past, and I'm not saying you should stop that, but the idea is you're starting to shift anchoring to past events over to the idea of anchoring to future events. Since they all exist at the same time, why not pull yourself forward, in a sense, instead of going back and looking and using that to maintain the idea of knowing that a future self is already on a version of Earth that already exists, and to that future self, where you're going is already the past, can really accelerate and propel you into that future self, into becoming that future self on that version of Earth in what you call the future. And since everything exists all at once, you can use them in any way you wish. You can use them this way. You just have to start thinking multidimensionally and knowing that other versions of you already exist and that they have their own experiences that you can tap into and use to your benefit in this way. So let the future self pull you forward. This is similar to what's happening in the channeling, where I am, again, according to your euphemisms, the channel's future self, pulling him forward, allowing him to become his version of what he believes us to be, so that he can rely on my past experiences to become his future ones. This is how Earth Zero works. Allow yourself to begin to relate to communicate with, to open up to the idea of being in a zero place that can have any definition. The entire planet, the entire world, your entire cosmos, all of your experience, zero. And then from that zero clean slate place, start connecting more to the idea of what the future self would consider to be its best past path. And allow that to become your future path, instead of constantly remembering backwards to propel yourself forwards. Let the future pull you towards it. Let your future self engage you and urge you and encourage you forward by walking in its footsteps, steps that already exist from its point of view, but you will have your own experience of that. That's the beauty of it. You're not actually repeating exactly the path the future self took, but it is giving you guideposts. It is giving you footprints that you will step into and experience in your own way that you believe is relevant for you. But the footsteps are there to follow already. So, allow yourself, in understanding more and more the idea that you zero out at every moment and you can redefine yourself in the next moment, allow more of that redefinition to include the experiences the future self has already had, but in a broad enough way that you can also determine what those experiences shall be for you. Then you will accelerate greatly because you'll be able to see that path more clearly. And you know that the future self is shining a light on that path and on those footsteps for you. Does that make sense? Does that sound like fun? All right. So, let that sink in. There are many other ways that your imagination can aid and assist you in developing this relationship to the future self and allowing yourself to be more conscious of zeroing out. You can use Earth Zero in a number of ways. Let your imagination be your guide, aside from what we have just suggested as a permission slip. At this time, then, in return for the gift you are allowing us to experience in all of you, I ask, how may we continue to be of service to you?
I wonder if you have any comments on it.
Not really.
Anything from an energy standpoint? There's so much focus on it in our environment.
Well, again, you understand that there are cycles on your planet and in the universe, and that these cycles are representative of leading edges of waves of collective consciousness to kind of do a little bit of what we were just talking about. Sort of reset yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
By understanding that you've reached the end of one cycle and the beginning of another as you've set this up in your reality to utilize however you wish. So it's kind of all about the idea of cycles and resetting and going back to zero. and understanding that even though the cycles may seem to just be this, they're actually this, a spiral. And that you spiral and spiral and spiral upward. When you look at the cycle multidimensionally, it's not just a flat ring, it's not just a flat circle, it's a dimensional spiral. Do you understand?
Yes.
And so you can use it as a sense of upliftment, a sense of progress, and a sense of a new beginning.
I know you mentioned last night that the astrology is a permission slip.
Everything is.
There's a lot of emphasis right now, astrologically, on the fact that what's happening astrologically is a good time for us to release the past and all the negative and look forward to
Yes, but that's a reflection in an astrologically framed permission slip of what's going on in your consciousness already. It's not the astrology telling you this is a good time. It's the astrology reflecting to you that you've already decided this is a good time.
That's a good comment. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Remember, it's a mirror. Permission slips are mirrors. They don't instigate your expression. They reflect your expression.
Great, great. I do not have any conscious recollection of my communication with my hybrid children.
All right.
And my question is, am I communicating with them?
From time to time, not necessarily that often because you don't need to, but from time to time you check in and they check in. Yes.
When you first introduced me to that, I did regularly connect, and then
Yes.
over time, and so I figure by now they're probably. Do they also age in their?
Well, yes, but not quite in the same way that humans do.
Okay. And the last thing is there was something on Facebook recently related to vibrational frequency. And the comment was that the vibration of light is the highest vibration.
In your reality.
And water is second. Is that true? That was the comment.
Well, yes and no. It depends on the form of the water, because there are other forms that are representative of very high frequencies, such as crystals as well.
Okay. There's so much water in us personally.
Yes, it carries high frequencies. If that's what is meant, then yes, it's conducive to the idea of carrying and holding on to and patterning high frequencies, but that doesn't mean that the water itself is operating at a high frequency.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for your.
Does that help?
Yes. Thank you for your communication.
All right. Thank you.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
It's so nice to talk with you again.
And you as well.
And I'd like to express my deepest appreciation for the message you gave us last night.
All right.
About your commentary and suggestions for our political situations.
And let me remind you that I also said that what we did was a litmus test.
Yes, right. I do remember that.
All right. Moving on.
Yes. And when you told us to vote,
yes,
I said yes.
Yes.
Because the general political situations in Japan is not so much different from that one in the US.
We understand, but we told you to vote because it's important that each of you have a voice and that you speak it. More than the idea of what that means to all of you politically, we are encouraging you to understand it's time to speak your truth in a way that is not just private, but public. And that's one way your society has of expressing the idea. So what we are actually saying underlying the political format is it's time to speak your truth publicly. Everyone. Because that's what we read as the ripples that spread out from the rock we dropped in your pond with that particular transmission. Is, are you going to ride the waves? Are you going to not? This gives us a reading to let us know where your world is at with respect to the idea of open contact. And I will give you a little bit of a preview of things to come.
Okay.
In the near future, there will be a transmission from what is called perhaps best translating into your language, the speaker for the Interstellar Alliance, who will deliver a message to you about what is going on our end with respect to what's happening on your end. That transmission will be coming up in the near future, but it ties in completely with what it is we did last night of your time in creating a resonance, in creating a ripple that is being read by billions of beings out here to see what you are and are not ready for. So, that being said, please proceed.
Okay. Well, that was actually my first question, but okay. You told us 3 years ago, you suggested to us that we would send the president of the United States postcards that said, "You for disclosure by
Yes.
2020 will get your people's vote."
Yes.
And even though I'm Japanese, I did that.
Yeah, all right. Are you still doing it?
No.
Why not? I never said to stop.
Yeah, right. I know that too, because that was not my highest excitement.
Oh, all right. That's a good reason.
Yeah, yeah, right. And so, about going to vote, I seldom go to vote because that is not my highest excitement to act on.
I understand what you're saying, but in this case, is it your highest excitement to be yourself?
Yes, that's right.
And so in this case, at this particular pivot point, it's crucial to allow yourself some version of that expression if you want to act as if you are engaged in the direction that the parallel reality you prefer in terms of its manifestation. So it's up to you to find in your imagination a way to allow it to be exciting for you, even temporarily, because this is a crucial pivot point in your history.
Yes.
And if that's not exciting, that's fine, but you may not necessarily then wind up in the parallel version of Earth that you really prefer if you don't allow yourself to engage in this moment with an opportunity to navigate yourself through that simple mechanism of speaking your truth to the idea of more acceleration in the manifestation of the reality that you prefer. It's very important at this time.
Yeah, right. So I will think about expressing my voice publicly, what it means to express my voice in public. Maybe
there are many ways to
inwardly.
quote unquote vote.
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. Okay. And
Does that help?
Yes, very much.
All right.
And I'm going to ask about the crystal skulls too. Again.
All right. What about them?
I'm thinking of looking for one of the crystal skulls.
Go right ahead. I'm not stopping you.
Yeah, right. So
I already told you where you could find one of them.
Yeah, right.
In the northeastern United States or Canada, called Sequoia.
Well, I will go to the place which is much closer to where I live.
So that would be either Tibet or Thailand?
Yes, that's right.
All right. Are you going for Shan or Tet?
Tet.
Oh, all right. You're going to Thailand.
Yes, right. And could you spell out the name of the temples?
Angkor Wat.
What? Yeah, I couldn't find that in Google.
You can't find Angkor Wat?
It's not. It's different from Angkor Wat in Cambodia, I guess.
But this is the general area.
Okay, so it's
We are only referring to the general area, not necessarily the specific country,
all right.
because the skull moves around.
What do you mean by skull moving around? You mean
Either a person can carry it from one country to another, or the skull itself can transport itself from one area to another.
Yeah.
It is connected to the temple of Angkor Wat, as you say. But at the moment that we answered your question in the private session, it happened to be in Thailand.
I see. That's what you meant.
Yes.
Okay. So
We are telling you where the skull is, not where it was. But we told you that it was in Angkor Wat and was connected to that temple.
I see. So maybe it moved from Cambodia to Thailand.
Yes.
Okay.
At that moment.
I
Who
got it.
knows where it is now?
Well, I will just go to the general area around the Angkor
Yes.
Wat. I'll walk around.
Follow your excitement, follow your passion, think and include the vibration of the idea of the skull within it, and it will call to you.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
And you told us about the high priest in Atlantean times,
Yes.
who was very revered. And I want to ask about that individual.
No, not at this time.
Okay, I was thinking that you would say no.
You are so psychic. I am glad to produce the result that you created in your mind.
Yeah, that's right. Can I ask the archetypal energy that represents archetypal energy and energy of Kukumat skull?
The archetypal energy of Kukumats.
Yes.
Well, it has to do with the idea of extra-dimensional beings that you refer to as dragons.
Okay. That's
So it's ancient wisdom, ancient power, ancient insight, ancient knowledge. Yes?
Yes.
It is also connected to the concept of comets, the messengers that deliver things from one place to another
Okay.
and cause cycles to begin and end on many planets and seed other planets with life.
Wow. That sounds really, really primal or very significant.
Yes, it's called panspermia. The spreading of different genetic material from planet to planet through comets and asteroids. But the idea of the comet is associated, because of its fiery tail, so to speak, with the concept of the dragon as well. And they were often called dragons of the sky. It is also why many people feel, in a sense, kind of a foreboding omen when they see a comet and associate the idea of omens in the negative sense with it, because they know from past history that many comets have been responsible for wiping out certain cultures and civilizations on your planet, such as Atlantis. And that's why you have kind of this, well, I'll just put it as a love-hate relationship with the concept of dragons.
Yeah, that's very true.
So, does that help?
Yes, that does help.
All right. Will that do?
Well, I have another question.
Of course you do.
Yes, you know that.
But let this be the last.
As you know, I'm a psychotherapist,
Yes.
and I want to ask about the. First, I want to make a statement. I really appreciate it when you explained the mechanism of schizophrenia.
Yes.
You explained that in terms of coherence.
Yes, or decoherence.
Yeah, right. And could you explain from your point of view what's the difference between schizophrenia and the so-called multiple personality disorder? It's not a disorder.
More personalities are involved.
Is that it?
It's more the idea of the schizophrenic experience has more to do with the idea of multiple realities that are decoherent as whole reality perceptions, whereas multiple personality, as you used to call it, has to do more with the integration or decoherence of the different aspects of your personality individually.
Yeah, so
one is more key to the idea of the reality experience, and one is more key to the idea of the personal experience of integration.
yeah, that's what I thought too.
Oh, well, then you didn't need to ask.
I thought I would get your confirmation.
Oh, all right. Now you have it. So that was your last question.
Yeah, right.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Bashar.
こんばんは、バチャー。
こんばんは。
I'm so
お元気
happy.
ですか？
元気です。ありがとうございます。
はい。
I'm so excited to talk to you for the first time.
お、ワクワク。
ワクワク。oh my gosh. So, I'm from Japan.
I couldn't tell.
Oh, that's why I told you.
Thank you.
So my group always talk about Japan, especially after you appeared on TV last year.
Yes.
Very popular.
Oh, all right, if you say so.
Yes. And I want to ask about Japan. So we got a new emperor last month.
How exciting for you.
Yes. But I live in the States, so I'm not quite sure what's going to be, what's going to happen in the future.
Well,
so
of course.
I want to hear your perspectives about it.
Again, remember, the idea is that if you simply follow the formula of acting on your passion to the best you can, no insistence on the outcome, and remain in a positive state no matter what happens, you will ultimately wind up on the version of Earth that is more reflective of who you prefer to be. So it doesn't really matter in the sense to ask, well, what will happen? Because what version of Earth are you talking about? The one that you prefer, or the one that you don't, or many in between? So it's really just up to you to ultimately experience what you wish to experience. Let the symbolic representations appear on their own that are representative of the state of being and the state of the reality that you've created. You don't have to worry the pieces into place.
I'm not worried. I just want to hear your perspectives.
I just gave it to you.
Thank you.
And when we use that term in this context, worry, it doesn't mean negative worry in the way that you typically mean it. It means to start manipulating things into position. It's
Okay.
an English slang,
Yeah?
yes? It doesn't mean worry in the classical sense. It means that when you worry something, you are sort of manipulating it with a certain intention into a particular position.
Yeah.
So you don't need to do that.
Okay.
Just follow your passion.
Okay.
Yes?
I'll do that. I'm doing
right.
it already.
Well, then keep doing it.
Yes. So another question about environmental issues. This is
Yes.
a question from a friend of mine.
Yes.
So would there be a technology or some sort to make clean water available to everyone in the world in the future?
Yes, of course. You have the technology now, you're just not using it.
Oh, what kind of technology is it?
You have many different kinds of filtering technologies. You also have the beginnings of technologies that will create certain kinds of vibrations in water that will separate out the toxins from the pure water. You have many different technologies coming up. So yes, of course, you already have the technology. In this particular case, it's not about having to invent the technology, it's about using it on a larger scale, but it's not being done by a lot of places because, again, of borders and politics and sociological limitations and belief systems and so on and so forth. So you have it. Just use it.
Okay, so it already exists.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
And others can be invented, but you already have enough to do it. You just have to do it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Well, you're so welcome.
Thank you.
Good day, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I have a sort of a mystery that I want to pose.
Oh, how exciting. We love mysteries.
Excellent. I have followed my highest desire in many ways,
In
but
many ways, but not all.
not all.
All right.
And I'm just now becoming conscious of taking responsibility fully for
All right.
everything that I've created.
All right.
But
Doesn't
there's-
always mean that someone else isn't involved in a co-creation, but taking responsibility for your part is the point.
That's it.
All right.
But this feeling that I struggle with,
Which is what?
animosity,
Animosity. Towards what?
not manifesting, not experiencing my preference.
Which would be what?
The things I was pursuing at the time.
So you have a particular insistence and
Yes.
condition that things are not going the way they should if you don't see it in a certain way?
No.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that I had an expectation.
That's what I said. You have an insistence.
Okay.
So you're not following the formula.
So what do I do?
Follow the formula.
Okay. And that means
Because if you understand why the formula says no insistence, no assumption, you have to put no condition on the outcome and remain in a positive state no matter what manifests, even if what manifests is something that you neutrally, objectively don't prefer. You have to stay in the state that allows you to know it must have manifested for a reason that does serve you. If you constantly label it as something having gone wrong, something that doesn't belong, you will only experience the negative side of it, and some of that can come out as animosity toward yourself, thinking that you're failing, doing something wrong, you're not living up to your promise, you're not good enough, you're not worthy, you're not deserving. And that's what creates the idea of the animosity. But you have to pay attention to the way that the formula is actually structured. This is why we give it to you in the form of an instruction manual. If you were to be given an instruction manual to operate a piece of machinery, would you just toss it out and try it yourself and perhaps injure yourself? Or would you say, all right, now wait a minute, I was given this instruction manual for a particular reason so that the machine will operate to my advantage instead of my disadvantage? Would you just toss it away? No. So the idea is, listen carefully to the instruction manual. You act on your highest passion every moment that you can, to the best of your ability, taking it as far as you can till you can take it no further, and then you follow the next thing that contains more passion, more excitement, even just the tiniest bit, more than any other option at that moment, and you keep doing that with zero insistence, zero assumption as to what the outcome is supposed to be. And then you remain in a positive state so that you can extract the benefit from whatever does manifest as a result of the action. You have to just understand that the reason the instruction is designed that way is because you're thinking that you know what the best outcome ought to actually be. And the truth is, you don't have a clue.
Right.
None of you do. So you have to understand that insistence on a particular outcome is actually a limitation that you're placing upon what could be given to you that might be better than you imagined. But it will definitely sometimes be different than you imagine, because the higher mind might be saying, this has to manifest first so that we see that if you can learn to use it in a positive way, then you are capable of using what we're going to give you next. But if you keep invalidating what you're getting, that only tells the higher mind you don't know how to use what you're given in a positive way. So why should you be given anything else until you figure that out? Because that's what's going to help you manifest the reality you prefer, is to use whatever does manifest in the way you prefer, because it's not about what happens. It's not about what happens. It's not about what happens. It's about what you do with what happens that makes the difference. Because everything can serve double duty. It doesn't matter how it looks. It can still give you a positive effect in your life, a beneficial effect. It doesn't matter how it looks. What you put into it is what you get out of it. That's the law. So it's about really understanding that part of the formula, that part of the instruction manual, and actually following it precisely, not haphazardly, not some of the time, all the time, in order to experience what it is you're looking to experience as an experience, as a state of being. It doesn't matter how the manifestation looks, as long as you are experiencing the state of being you prefer to be in. Because again, please remember, the true mark and measure of change is not whether the outside reflection changes. The true measure of change is when you decide what state you're going to be in, regardless of how the outside looks. That means you've actually changed. Because if you're still making your state of being conditional on the idea that the outside has to look a certain way, then you are still making it conditional, and that means you haven't changed. So why should the outside change?
Okay, I understand.
Is this making some sense?
It is.
Does it help lower the animosity?
Yes, considerably.
All right. So that is a clue that the way to do that and to create the state you prefer is follow the instruction manual to the letter. Yes?
Yes,
Is this helping?
it is.
All right. Something
So,
else?
when this feeling comes up, just redefine it.
Stay with it.
Stay with it.
Stay with it And that is the most important thing that needs to be happening in your life at that moment. That's why it came up, because there's no accidents. It's saying, hey, there's a negative belief system here in your unconscious mind that is out of alignment with who you prefer to be. So the animosity is the emotion that brings your attention to it. So say, thank you, animosity, for bringing my attention to something I need to pay attention to. Now I have something to work with, because now that I have that feeling, and because I understand how reality works, and I know that I could not possibly have any kind of an emotion at all unless I believe something to be true, because that's how reality works, I can now ask the question, what would I have to believe is true in order to be feeling animosity? What belief would generate that? What belief do I have about myself in this circumstance that generates that feeling? Because I know that all feelings come from what I believe to be true, and no feeling can exist in a vacuum. Because I understand how things work. It's all about understanding. Here is something very important to understand, and thank you for giving us an opportunity to bring this up. Many times when we explain the idea of the structure of existence and how things work, we get the question, all right, now what do I do beyond that? What's the next step? What's the process in order to allow that to happen? What we are attempting to get across to you is that all you need to do is understand it, and that's enough of a process. That's all the process you actually need, is actually understanding what we're saying. That is a description of how reality works. Now, if you want to create other processes, sometimes you may need other processes. Sometimes you have a belief system that says, I won't really get this unless I go through this process, and that's all fine. But all we're actually saying is, in many cases, it's not about needing another process or another permission slip in order to get what we're describing. Understanding it is the process, and that's all it takes to experience the result of that understanding. Does that make sense?
It does.
All right. Is this helping?
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for raising this issue.
Thank you. Will that lead to the reality that I desire?
You're still doing it.
I know.
Let me put it this way, though, since you mentioned it in that framework. It will lead to the state of being you desire. Who cares what the reality looks like if you're always happy?
Yes, sir.
Make sense?
Yes.
Now, when you are always happy, it may increase the probability sometimes of it manifesting in the way you might have imagined it, but never insist that it must. That's where you shut the doors.
Got it.
Got it?
Got it.
It's about state of being. Mm-hmm. That's it. Let the reflections and the symbols of the state of being come to you in whatever form they need to, because again, as we said, sometimes they will even come in the form of something you don't prefer. Yes. But if that happens, that means it's there for a reason. You just need to learn to use what you don't prefer in a way that you do, and then you will use up the manifestation of what you didn't prefer in a positive and constructive way, and then you will make room for something else to come in, and your reality will accelerate because you're using up what you're given. When you refuse to believe it has anything to do with the reality you prefer, you're letting it stay there and fill up space and making no room for anything else to come in, and everything slows down. Use it up, and something else will come in, because as you all know, nature abhors a vacuum. So as soon as you use it up, bang, something else comes in. Use it up, bang, something else comes in. Bang, 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 it accelerates. The more willing you are to use what you're given in the positive way that you can, the more something else will be given to you that you can also use in a positive way. And it doesn't matter how it looks, because you don't care how it looks, because you can use anything that manifests in your life in the best possible way to be of service to you. And you have to know that you can do that in order to experience that that's true. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. We do so love working with you humans.